Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm privileged to welcome a very, very accomplished and senior woman from Morocco, Dr. Hynd Bouhia. Dr. Hynd, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Uh, Dr. Hynd is the founder and chief executive officer of the BAL method. She's been the managing director of the Casablanca Stock Exchange. She has been an advisor to the Prime Minister of Morocco, and she's an author. And a lot of you know that I'm very partial to authors. So she's an author of a book titled Africa Girl, African Woman. So, Dr. Hynd, wonderful to have you on the show. Let's start talking about the BAL or the BAL method. Tell me about this venture after such an amazing career.
Yes, it's so wonderful to be here. I love your show. I love what you do. And I just love how you present all the stories from around the world. Thank you for having me. So BAL is actually BAL. So BAL method, I think I was kind of, I've been in finance. So the BAL has always been in my head. Mm-hmm. And BAL stands for believe, act, and lead.
Okay.
So believe it's a method that I created to help women power up, to help women find their strength inside them and start believing and come back to believe in their dream, in their mission, in the life, they wanted to design. Because when we are a child, dreaming is part of us. And then more we grow, more we let that part, that imagination, we let it out. We just leave it. Each time a nice idea comes, you're like, oh no, it's crazy. It's impossible. And so this method is to bring that back again to people's life. And so it's like how to believe in yourself, in your dream, in the possibilities. Just by believing, you get a spark in you. And that spark is what helps you, get more positive energy, higher vibration, believing in what you can create. And you just, feel that strength and that light coming back into your life. So this is why it's believe first. And then act. Act is, I prepare entrepreneurs, I make millionaires, and I make women who are creating their own economies. I mean, and believe is great, but then if you don't have the skills, you can need to complement that. So yes, there is a strong mindset, but there is also the basics for business plans, for decision making, for branding, marketing, and just those basics. So you believe, but you act on it. You need to take action. You need to take action to make things happen. And finally, when you have that, you're a leader, because leadership is inside each one of us. And so when you got the mindset, you get the skills, you're unstoppable. And that's how you lead. So this is a 3-phase method where you take someone from being lost, from being frustrated, and to becoming empowered, to becoming inspiring, and to create her own wealth. Or his own wealth, for that matter, because it could apply to men as well, actually.
What an amazing concept of belief, act, and lead, the BAL method. But Dr. Hynd, before I go any further, I want to ask you to tell me your amazing journey. Harvard, Stock Exchange, advisor to the Prime Minister, and then we'll get a little more into how you're empowering women.
Sure. Yeah, my journey has been fun. It's long, but I don't like to tell my age. So that's why I've done so many things. But I told them I'm always the young one. What helped me is that I had my children late. So I still have a 5-year-old. So when I have a 5-year-old, you better look like a mother of 20 with 20 years old. So which keeps me young. But yes, I had a fun journey, but it wasn't easy. I did have my load of pain and challenges, but I always embrace it with discovering new things, curious about impact, about making a difference in people's life. And that's what had drove me throughout my journey. So it all started, I think it all started from my house in Casablanca, because, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and my time, girls don't go to study abroad. They get married, they settle, they have their family. And that inside me, I didn't want that to be my life. And I think I didn't say it out loud when I was 15, 16 years old. But what I did is I just worked hard. I was like, I have to be so excellent that nobody can stop me.
Correct.
So I think that's what drove me. It's almost I created my own spark in me by believing in possibilities, by dreaming, by holding on into playing a role bigger than myself.
Yes.
And that role surely wasn't to get married at 17 or 18 or whatever and settle down. And so yeah, and I was accepted in one of the toppest engineering schools in France because, the system, you need to take competition exams. So you have to really be super top in math and physics and all those, advances things. And surely I did that. I enjoyed it. And I was accepted. So I had my professors come home to convince my parents to let me go.
Wow.
And I think that was the start of my leadership journey, because this basically confirmed that I had something else, a role to play. I was paving the way for my sisters, for other girls, for other women, anyone who wanted to do something differently. And so this is how it all started.
Yes. And then what took you to Harvard, and then your professional career in the stock exchange and with the Prime Minister?
Yeah, so I went to Harvard right after France. I mean, I was focusing on transferring technologies to countries like from emerging markets, or and how you can use all these advances. And Harvard was a dream, was really a dream, literally. I mean, like, I didn't speak English because we don't speak English. We spoke French and English. But I'm like, I'm going to Harvard. That's it. Because all movies were like, Harvard is the best universities, So imagine, I had programmed myself to just study hard to be the top. So I had to go there. And this is how I stick to it. And I worked hard, and I had good grades, but I had a mission, which was to go and learn about development. And this is what took me to Harvard, is to, it was the start of sustainable development at the time, early 90s, as you know. And so I worked on, I did my PhD on environmental engineering and sustainable development, because to me, development meant making an impact in people's life. And that was what was driving me, is to learn all these things, because I want to help my country and countries from my region to move forward, to stimulate their growth and to reach other parts of the world.
Amazing.
And that's how Harvard took me to the World Bank, because the World Bank, that's what we do. A world free of poverty. And it was that big mission from 95 with Wolfensohn era, which was the world free of poverty and sustainable development. So I just loved every piece of it.
Wow.
Because it was about helping people, because it was about making a difference in people's lives. And that's amazing.
Amazing. And then you were called back as the CEO of the managing director of the stock exchange?
I was called back to work with the Prime Minister.
Okay.
After 8 years at the World Bank, where I worked on several countries. I mean, I worked on Latin America, Southeast Asia. So I love your part of the world.
Wonderful. Yes. Wonderful.
Yes. And I was called by the Prime Minister to join his office, and I was working on strategies at the national level, strategies for industry, tourism, how to attract investment, and how to ensure the integration of energy, renewable energy at the time. So it was starting. So it was all around this sustainable development.
Amazing. What an amazing.
And then when I decided that development was enough, no, it wasn't enough. Actually, I decided that development can never happen if you don't have finance, if you don't have investment, because money is everything. If you don't have what to invest, how on earth can you make the infrastructure? How can you develop? And that's what drove me to the financial world. And even at the World Bank, in fact, at the end, I was working in Treasury because I was curious to see where all this money is coming from. And the World Bank is actually raising money out of the financial market, launching bonds so that they can refinance and give loans to countries. And that financial sphere was such an intrigue and so mesmerizing to me, and that's what drove me to finance.
How amazing! How amazing! So now let's come back to the BAL method and your little baby of belief, act, and lead. You've created this method to empower a lot of women, but your mission, Dr. Hynd, is also to empower 1 billion girls and women around the world to grow confident, resilient, tech savvy, and financially free.
Yes.
Tell me about this mission and what are you doing about this?
Well, this mission has a story because I have 3 daughters, and when I was in the finance world, it has been, there was ups and downs and a lot of struggles. So really being in male-dominated world can be very tough. And I think that's the strength and the resilience is what keeps you going. And if you can't find it, you need to get inspired by something somehow. And I remember one of those, very tumultuous days, or after a meeting, I came home and I was really completely crushed. I'm like, the word is suddenly again crushing, how a professional word is. And I just look at my girls and I'm like, I can't have them see their mom being each time not destroyed, but just frustrated, and leaving those struggles and creating herself after setbacks and setbacks and setbacks. And I'm like, there is something that needs to be done. And they literally helped me power up. And it was just before COVID. And I'm like, for my daughters and for every girl in the world, I want to show them that what it takes to have a life they want, what it takes to find resilience when you don't have it, what it takes to come out of your rabbit hole when you feel your world have just crashed on your head, or when you're surrounded with people saying, oh, you're just a girl, why do you think you're going to do this? This is not for you. We don't have the money. You can't do this. Because this is what you hear when you grow up. I mean, you grow up, you are born happy and just the word is amazing and you dream. And then all this happiness, it's like to me, it's like a diamond. We are born with a perfect diamond, so precious, so sparky, so clean. And then all those comments and all what you hear, it's like layers. You put layer after layer after layer, and you cover that diamond in you. And then you come out in the world, and what you do is you put some polish so that make it yourself shine. That's what we do, right? Because you have degrees, you have diplomas, you look good, you do that. But in reality, you have layers of stacked frustration and emotions that are inside you. And these emotions, if you are not able to let go of it, it will always hurt you and pull you down. And that's what I understood. So this is why I said, I'm going to go on this mission to impact. There are 2 billion people connected to us to a click.
Correct.
You can see that 1 billion is this, but that's not what I thought. To me, when I say 1 billion, is because I want to touch everyone from Africa, Latin America, Asia, all those countries where we come out in the street and we know we're not London and New York. We know that you have to fight, you have to work harder, you have to do things. And this is just to show them that it starts with confidence. And confidence is in you. You need to build it. Don't wait for someone to tell you, oh, you look great. You are smart. You know you are, because you have it in you. And that's what confidence. And the resilience. Resilience is what keeps you going. Is what, you fall, you stand back up. It's like a muscle. You train yourself to be resilient. You get that warrior in you. You know you have it. And you don't need someone to come and put it inside you. You have it in you. And often we don't, environment, reality can just make you forget about what you are and who you are. And then tech savvy, because without technology, you are left beside. The world has gone digital.
Correct.
And for everyone who wants to be part of the game, she needs to be digital. And digital means science should not scare anyone anymore. And that's what I I encourage girls to go into STEM, to take science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Don't be afraid of them. This is the fashion. This is the way to be today. This is like whatever math you use when you go grocery shopping, that's what you need to learn, because it's not scary. It's as basic when you understand how to use it. And finally, financially free, because when you are able to create your own economy, you are empowered. When you know that you have to can sleep and it's okay, you become empowered.
Very, very well said. But, Dr. Hynd, one of the questions that I have to a lot of leaders in the developing world, which includes my country and your country, is that there is this imbalance between men and women. And I want to ask you, is it because of society? Is it because of elders? Is it because of culture? I'd love to get your perspective.
That's a tough question, right?
Yes.
Because I have a boy too. So, I treat everyone the same way. But it's culture, It's culture. It's culture. It's history. Well, less history, because we did have great role models. Women from, go back to Cleopatra, go back to Hind Quraysh, go back to all these big, amazing women. Correct. They show that otherwise, right? So I think it's some of this, the powerful system have this strong voice, and that voice had corrupted the voice inside women and inside everyone that says that there is a glass ceiling. The glass ceiling is invisible. It's not even real. Yeah, we agree, right? Because when you see women presidents today, clearly they don't have that glass ceiling at their level, but it does exist in others. And yes, there are disparities in terms of salaries, in terms of opportunities, but that's, again, it's in people's minds. So how the paradigm, which is the way people think and what's in their mind, comes from habitual behavior. And so when you built up that habit of saying you're women, you don't do that, it's hard, it's difficult, that becomes your reality. And even though now it's not, because we see a lot of reforms, a lot of policies in our countries that encourage access to jobs for both men and women, let go. They do everything to avoid all the disparities, the inequalities. And even in the society, we accept women being the boss in the family, doing whatever she wants, getting married when she wants, so we are more in control. But there are places where habits are still there, and changing habits takes a lot of time.
Well said.
But we're getting there. We're getting there. That's why your platform is amazing. Because you know what you do? You provide role models to young girls and young women. You show them that it is possible, that yes, there are women, and it hasn't been easy for them. Nobody got it easy, but we carry on because we believe.
And when people hear you speak, what a powerful message you are giving to a lot of young girls, saying, I could have been married when I was 17, 18, but here I am, advisor to Prime Minister, MD of the stock exchange, and now running my own belief, fact, and lead method. Fantastic.
And I tell you, and that makes me so, I really feel it inside me, is that it hurt me when I see that there are still girls getting married less than 18 years old and 17. And there are 24,000 of them in Morocco last year. Wow. Okay. And that means, and this is just here. So think about the rest of the world.
It's the same.
And that's just not possible. You cannot in 2022 and have that. And more of that, when you know that 129 million girls are not going to school. 129 million. These are countries. And you add to that, after COVID, 20 million more that's dropped out of the secondary school because they didn't have access to school. So we're talking about 150 million girls out of school. What's the future? for them, because these girls will be mothers of other children, right? So, the ripple effect is like you're reaching 1 billion with that, because you're going to create families. What is it? How can this be possible? And what does it take? That's the question, really. What does it take? Clearly accessibility. That's why the digital world is extremely important.
Absolutely.
Clearly access to possibilities. And this is why we work in, what we do is that we write books for children. So last year we come out with books to explain sustainable development to children so that they have other things to read. Even for girls. I mean, okay, we grew up with Cinderella and all those beautiful, the Prince Charming coming. Things have changed, and we need more to give them access to the basics of science. So science doesn't become something we need to do. It's just part of their lives, part of learning what's water, what's energy, what's how things function, what's mechanics, what's that. And right now we're working on books to show for girls, to show them what are the possibilities in terms of professions. What can they do? What can they be happy waiting for to get, instead of, because to them, there is wedding and be happy because you're married, but you can be happy and fulfilled.
Absolutely right.
By doing a job that you love, by doing something that you care about, and by also being part of a system that help others improve and be fulfilled and have a good life.
Fascinating. So, Dr. Hynd, I've now got time for for me to ask you some questions about your book.
Okay.
You've written a book titled Africa Girl, African Woman.
Yes.
Tell me about the hypothesis in this book and what motivated you to write it.
I wrote this book here. Actually, I'm at the farm. That's why I don't have the book with me. But I wrote it because I wrote it right when I decided that I'm shifting my work into caring and embracing my mission to empower women and girls. And to me, this is like an encyclopedia for every girl and every young woman, everyone. And it's not just Africa. I mean, really, it touches everyone. It's on Amazon. So I don't know if you can put the link later on your platform. But what the books is showing, one is that there are women have been in power in leadership from a long time ago. Okay, there wasn't enough in science, but with Marie Curie and all this, there are women that decided to make a difference, and they did. And so it goes back to history to show how women have been involved in many things, including for sustainable development, which is funny, right? Because it was a woman from Italy who actually was working on that in the beginning, in the 80s. And then it shows all those amazing ladies that are taking the lead in technology, in startups, in venture capitals. And there are more and more of them, women reaching CEOs level of high-tech companies, and women creating unicorns, billion-dollar companies. And so when you see this, you're like, wow, I thought they were not. You're surprised with how many women. And then it tells about all those programs and all those initiatives that are done. But when you look at it, it all comes down back to education. It comes back to what they learn at school. What do they have access to in school? Because that's the foundation of what's going to happen in their life later on. That's why governments and institutions, all the help they do to get more girls into school, to encourage them to learn, to get them into STEM, into science, technology, engineering, mathematics. All this is paving the way to create a new generation that will see many leaders rising. And it just becomes normal to follow whatever you want to do, whatever you want to create, to have an idea, to be the next unicorn, to create your startup, to go look for money and for finance. So it really shows that everything is accessible when you believe, when you make that your mission, when you have a plan and take action on it and persevere. We all here knows, everybody, whenever you fall, you stand back up. And that's the thing, because success is standing back up after a failure. And maybe that last one that discouraged you could be that last one to make you the star of your life. And I say of your life because often we let others be the star in our own life. And if our life is a movie, you let other be the star and you're like the helper or the second actor. No, everyone has to be the star of her own movie.
Correct.
And that's what my work is about. Amazing. Is to give value and worth back to every woman, no matter where she's grown up from. Doesn't matter the environment, the culture, the social tensions, everything is inside her. And everyone needs to remember that diamond, because we are born with this diamond so precious, correct, so perfect, so unique. I think unique is the word, because everyone is so unique that you can create magic in your life if you want to.
Very, very well said. On that note, Dr. Hynd, I really want to say that, talking to you has been quite an eye-opener for me. I mean, from what you was telling me, how the principals and of colleges had to come to your parents to convince you to go to France to do your engineering, and now encouraging STEM, going to Harvard, leading large organizations, in powerful political roles that guide the destination of your country or destiny of your country. I mean, I think you've done it all, and I can just say first, I applaud everything that you've been doing. Oh. And I'm really looking forward to following you on everything that you will do in the years ahead.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
And I look forward to welcoming you in Morocco.
Of course, we will look forward
and
to that.
And we'll have a conversation live.
Absolutely. Thank you again and good luck.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.